In this video, I'll show you how I made a few bowls and a few perfect spheres without one of these, because there's no lathe here. It's one of two tools I don't plan to purchase anytime soon, and it's not because everyone else in my woodworking family happens to own one. In fact, I doubt they'll have a single clue as to how I made these.
And you don't have a lathe.
That's coming up. But what if you want to expand your woodworking skill, but you don't have the space for a lathe, or you just cannot see yourself getting enough return for your investment? The answer is a few smaller tools. Maybe not this small. There's no need to phone a friend or strain your back. The first is a grinder attachment made by Arbortech, a company who has been creating carving equipment for a good number of years. Inside the plastic case is an attachment that screws right onto the top of your grinder, has an easy to adjust collar for both concave and convex radiuses. The cutter head features two replaceable omnidirectional cutter heads. Although you don't get any extras in the box, you can find them online. In addition, they do include a sanding wheel, which is a dream to use when carving out bowls or balls. Plus a dust collection system that works freakishly well. Here I am a few days younger than I was moments ago, and I've just finished up my very first ball. It took about an hour and a half to carve, and honestly, I thought I was going to end up with some just lumpy firewood, but this thing is almost foolproof to create a ball. Before it looked like this, it had looked like this. Here, I sliced up a 2x12, rounded the pieces just so I didn't have as much material to carve away. Not necessary, but I do think it helped. And another cool thing about this system is that even if you don't want to go through the trouble of getting a piece of pine and cutting it up and gluing it and then shaping it just for it to look like a crappy piece of pine in the end, you can find any species or size of log and use that to create your carvings. Look at this sexy piece of black walnut. Rawr! Delicious. Using a black walnut log my father was going to cut up for firewood, which should be a crime, I rounded off the edge to begin shaping the ball, gradually working my way to the center. I put a clamp on both sides and clamped those clamps together to hold it in place. A little bit of a MacGyver. I cut two different size holes in some foam to create a holder for the new rounded bottom. Makes the piece a little more manageable. Once you go over any high spots, you can dial the cutter head back to remove less material and continue working your way around the ball until it's perfect. And that's another strike. Moving on to my first bowl. It's easier to make a ball than a bowl because the cutter head is nested inside the guard, giving you better control of the tool. I didn't feel like I was doing it correctly, so I watched a quick tutorial, hydrated, and continued down the path to create the best bowl that's ever been made, at least here in the shop. However, much like heroic fairy tales, some end in defeat. This is what an hour and 45 minutes of bowl carving looks like. This is my first attempt on getting the interior looking nice. I took the night and reflected on this, mainly because my forearms are on fire. And that's because after carving two balls, coming over here to carve the bowl, and holding that guy for, I'd say, pretty close to 5 hours. Whew! I'm gonna continue on this. I'm only gonna go for 20 more minutes. That's all I'm throwing at this. If I don't get it in 20 minutes, then that's how deep she's gonna be. I've got about 2.5 inches carved out on the interior. You may have noticed at the end, I also moved my guard down so that there is less cutter head exposed. That way I can get a softer, less material removed, and it's gonna kind of start to even out these spaces and makes it easier for me to just sand these additional lines away after I do the bottom, because if I mess up the bottom, why did I make the inside perfect, you know? Rough cut my inside, now I need to rough cut my outside. I think this has found its permanent home. I don't know. Meet the new sander. Things are starting to fall apart. What? This is attached to the grinder. It's not how you get stuff off. Oh. I still need to get this off. I wanted to have 2 or 3 bowls and 3 balls, keep the jokes to yourself, before seeing my grandpa on Wednesday. Today is Monday, which gives me exactly 4 hours to get this done if I want to have time to stain anything. This guy took 3.5 hours, and he's clearly not done yet. Before going to work, I'm gonna drill out this screw. Hopefully I can get it removed. If I can't get that little interior piece removed, this whole thing is junk. So I need to make one more ball before I do that for sure. I'm not making any more bowls. Bowls just take way too long, and we've got other options to make bowls. Fresh off the FedEx truck, I have a Woodturner Commander 8-inch. That's right, I don't have a lathe. These are fresh off the truck. I bought them when you guys told me to because of the last video. And in that last video, what did we do? We made a routered tray. So we're gonna do it again. How I made this jig, it'll be at the very end of the video. Some people have already seen it. Let me show you how to make a bowl using a router. For around $10 at Harbor Freight, you can pick up this, where you can spend $800 on a fancy Starlet one. And what this allows us to do is find the exact center of our board. That's what this is for. It's for finding the center of round objects. Fancy. So you just make a few scores, and it doesn't matter where they're at. They are, unless your object is not perfectly round, then we're gonna guess. Then I eyeballed my router bit to be about 3/8 of an inch into my workpiece. Back to 90 degrees, I drew a line across my jig. Looks like it's 3.5 inches wide. I don't want to do any math. You can actually turn it to where my 4-inch tick hits on the corner and corner. Center that on my line. 2 inches. That'd be the dead center. I drilled a 1/8 inch hole and drove a screw into said hole, lining it up with the center of my board. And a quick run around to ensure I had things correctly in position. Then, traveling in a counterclockwise position, I ran it around the workpiece until I reached a depth that my router bit bearing touched my workpiece. A quick and easy way to save your router bit a few miles is to remove as much material from the inside of the bowl as possible before attacking it with your router. Here I grabbed a 7/8 inch spade and drilled out majority of the interior. By removing the outer perimeter first, you're less likely to make an oopsie when your router bit finds a hard spot and slams that fast spinning and sharp monster into the side. Continue to remove material from inside the bowl until you reach a depth that you're satisfied with. How much did I remove? About a 1/2 inch too deep to use my bowl bits. I'm a little upset about it. I added a round over to both sides of the rim and the bottom. Let the sander do its thing. I'm gonna grab some lunch. Since there were a few cracks, I mixed up a 2-part epoxy. You can pick this exact stuff up at Walmart. And filled the openings in case this becomes my permanent cereal bowl. A few honorable mentions, and no, it's not the miter saw where you go like this 200,000 times with your hand like 2 inches away from the blade. That's not one of them. This is $30 grinder attachment. It's like a carving disc picked up from Harbor Freight. You just buzz it around the inside of your project, and it'll get the job done. However, there are no guide systems. There's no dust collection. Prepare to make a big mess. As long as you draw a couple lines to follow along to as you go, work kind of slow, it'll get you there. And it's 1/10 of the price of this thing. And our final method piggybacks off how you would make a bandsaw box. Just take a piece of wood, you'd cut the center out using a jigsaw or scroll saw. You could use a bandsaw, but then you'd have to glue the 2 pieces where you entered. And then you take a bigger piece of wood, you glue it on the bottom of that ring you just cut out, use a flush cut router bit, go around that outside to make everything flush, make it look like it's one piece of wood. Bada bing. And you don't have to router out the entire interior, just cut it away and glue a piece on the bottom. It's kind of the same way you do a bandsaw box, but you do that like 15 times on a bandsaw box. And if you like this bandsaw box, my boy David at Make Something, he's got a whole book about it. After drilling, prying, and a little crying, I got the head off my Arbortech and was able to sand the bowl using the included sanding disc. My $300 investment wasn't junk after all. Stain. Ooh, look at that stain. Oh, delicious dark stains. Ooh, but look, oh, look at that one. Oh, that red's popping. I'm sure if you check the comments, you'll find a plethora of people who either love their lathe or don't use them as much. And if you find yourself wanting to make any of these items, ah, yes, look at that list of specialty items. Maybe a lathe is a good idea. Woodworking to most people is just a hobby. So if you want to spend the money and play around, experiment, more power to you. And I just touched on the hand tool side of how to make these objects. There is still a lot of different alternatives that you could use instead of a lathe. A drill press can be adapted to function as a vertical lathe, allowing you to turn wood or other materials. Tools like the Dremel or Wren rotary tools with various attachments can be used for tasks like grinding, polishing, cutting, and offering more affordable alternatives to a full-size lathe. For certain projects, you can use a table saw to round stock or a router to create shapes that might otherwise be done on a lathe. And while more involved, you can explore building your own lathe using readily available materials and parts, but this requires some technical skills and knowledge.
I came in like a wrecking ball. I just closed my eyes and swung, then me crashing in a blazing fall. You ever did was wreck me.
I found the center of my scrap board, 13.5 inches, and marked the screw holes and center cutout on the board. Drill a hole about the same size as what was originally in the base. This gives your router bit plenty of room to spit out those chunks and shavings. Using a 3/8 Forstner bit, I drilled down about 1/2 inch since this material is a lot thicker than the original plexiglass. Switch to a thinner 1/8 inch bit and finish off the holes. Now instead of this smaller base, we can attach this larger piece of wood right to our router. Would have been really cool if that was the part that spun around, not just the bit. Anyway, and now you have this gigantic base, and you can freely move around whatever you're cutting out. And this isn't our project, but you get it. You can also get real bougie and add handles onto the outside if you wish. I think I will. I just took an 1.5 inch piece of dowel, cut it to 4 inches long, piloted a small little spot, 6 inches away from my router bit. I just screw them into place. Uh-oh. Drilled the holes too big. I gotta get bigger screws. Welcome to your shop.
Hey. Hey. Oh, wow. Dang. That's what you did with that hickory I gave you?
Yes. So how did we make any of that?
Well, there's a lathe.
Nope.
A grinder. Guess you could have ground that out.
Could grind it. Could grind
But I
it.
don't know how you'd get these round.
And how would you make a perfect sphere?
Well, you'd have to be really good with a sander, I guess, but that'd be impossible.
Play with her.
Oh, wow.
Touch it.
Is this all just the logs?
That's one black walnut chunk.
This is just impressive because I got that in the house, but I made it right there. So the table saw was my other option. You know, with that jig, you could put it on the little,
Terrifying.
that little box.
Fits inside of this box.
Did all that.
Did all of them, except for the router one.
Wow.
That's the whole contraption.
That's beautiful. So
That's
what's the
all
silver
it is.
thing for?
I have not a clue what this is for, or why it's so long. It locks.
Does it hold a bag, maybe?
It locks the cutter head, so it doesn't
Okay.
spin this around, so you can take it on and off.
Okay.
I don't know why it has the arm. Like, you can hold it. This thing, if you put the dust collection on it, and when this one, and I put it down, and it just picks the ball up. And then you gotta put it back down.
Man, that's some
Like,
good
you have
suction right there.
You have to take it back off.
So do you get a lot of dust?
You'd only get dust when you're starting out. So when you're starting out and you set it to like this so it's like perfectly flat.
Okay. Oh, I see.
And
'Cause
then
it
I
can skiddy around.
Yeah, because then I'm touching it right here. Then you're gonna get dust.
Okay.
Otherwise, you don't get any dust with it. I mean, they're making.
Oh, I see. You just.
They're making big bowls with it. Big boys. Perfect balls.
You say that on camera.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to your shop.
Yeah. A little different. I've got a tool that'll make something like that
Yes, yes.
and that. Now these, I don't have a tool for, but I do know they make one.
Can you make this on the lathe?
You can.
You can. I did not.
I can make this on a lathe with the old tools that I've got. But finishing it takes another 2 setups
Oh.
because you got to turn it, and then you've got a little bit of a spud at the end of it when you end up turning.
You gotta get
A
that
flat
on there.
spot.
Yes.
And you got to get rid of that. You know? So you have to turn it between 2 others.
Interesting. Well, mine has no flat spot.
That's right.
She's all around, baby.
See a little bit of sapwood here.
I know. I like that it got the little bit of the excess on the end.
I like this one.
Little baby. She's still real wet. So she sucked up the stain. Put a little linseed oil on it. She sucked that up too.
Ah, yes.
Hmm.
Ain't that cute?
One baby tool.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. But it does come with a handy little sandy disc. You pop that in there.
nice.
So you get them nice and smooth.
That's very good.
And same thing, it doesn't burn it. My grinder is not speed adjustable, so one speed, it did it just fine. They're done.
That is pretty cool.
Perfect little ball.
I have to say, I'm impressed with that smaller tool.
Yeah. And I was just shocked by how stupid easy it is. And with the grinder, every time I had the lock button, every time I went down, click,
Yeah.
it hit the trigger.
That tool that I was telling you about that fits a lathe is about $365 for the basic tool. Then you got to buy a little stand for the height of your center on your lathe to make it fit right. You know. So and I think that's another $85 or so.
Yep. And just to make a kind of round ball.
Mm-hmm.
You want to watch me do a couple bowls and balls?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to your shop.
Hey, thanks for welcoming me.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh. Did you use your router to router that out?
Maybe.
Well, these are all a complete mystery.
Perfect spheres.
Can I juggle them?
If you can, yeah. Yep. they're heavy, but go for it.
Yeah, that one could be tricky. How did you make perfect spheres without all? And you don't have a lathe?
No. No lathe. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. You should drill a couple finger holes in this one.
And that's another strike.
How do you make a perfect sphere without a lathe?
What if it fit inside this box?
Is that the actual tool?
Yep.
Because I'm reading the name Arbortech and I have nothing.
It's not space related.
Is that the actual blade that you're screwing in there?
Yeah. Right there.
That's the whole thing, huh?
That's the whole thing.
What is it attached to?
Grinder.
So you literally set this thing and just get started on it anywhere? Just
Yep. And then you just start chasing it around. And pretty soon you'll start taking this off. And then pretty soon you'll start kind of making it ball. And it'll get to where, you know, this is just tiny in the middle. And you'll just keep taking that off. And then once you get past that.
And I don't want to take away from the coolness of this, but you really can't fell, it sounds like, if you...
There's people that say like they can't, like they're like, my first one's all wonky. That's the very first one I made. Second and third. Because I just kept getting smaller.
So it's pretty much as long as you don't lop off a finger, you're okay.
Yeah.
Is that as big a ball as you can make?
No.
So you're saying you can have as big a balls as you want?
Yes.
Okay, as long as we got that straight. Where'd you get that? Was that just lopped off the end of a log or something?
That's her dad's black walnut logs he's got.
Very cool. Comes with one blade?
Comes with one blade. They are omnidirectional. So I can take them off and replace them just like Jim has his.
Oh, you
or
just-
even if you have the lathe tools that have those cutter heads.
I do. So
Yeah.
you only have to replace the little.
Yeah.
How much are replacement cutter heads?
I have no idea.
You have any idea what you're gonna do with these little beauties?
No idea.
But if they're there,
just
you have
wanna
to
hold
pick.
them.
You have to
You
pick
have to
them up and
touch
play
them.
with them. Yeah. And I appreciate you letting me play with your balls.
Yes.
Yeah, we're family, so.
Good night and big balls.